I don't think any of us women have one job that you can turn off after 6 or 7 hours. I worked hard, but I knew nothing about finances. I knew nothing about building wealth. I just knew to make the money to pay the bill on time. That was my whole world.
Welcome to the Mom's Wealth Club. Today's conversation is for the woman who knows how to work hard, but feels like she's trying to figure out how to actually build wealth. My guest has spent 30 years in an industry most people don't even know what it is, and she's also built multiple income streams. She's recently stepped into the world of investing and AI and wealth building in a whole new way. And what I love about her story is she's not coming in as someone who has it all figured out. She's coming in as somebody who's figuring it out now and really jumping into the education. So we're going to talk about her trade shows. We're going to talk about investing. We'll talk a little bit about AI, how we use that in business, and that seems to be the hot topic of the moment. But we really want to talk about what it means to step into a world of wealth building at any age. So thanks for joining us. And Heather, I am so excited that you're here today because we have so many amazing conversations offline. And I'm super excited to introduce you.
Thank you, Lynn. It's so good to be here. You know, you and I have so many amazing conversations about wealth and finances that it's great for us to have it here to talk about, talk about it one-on-one like we normally do, but also for the woman out there who needs a BFF or a girlfriend to hear some of these, like our wise tales and tools, right? And that's what we're here for today, to share our resources, share our knowledge, and share our experience so that some of those other people don't have to go through some of those pitfalls that we have. So,
oh my gosh, it's so true. And it's funny because we do have a little chat with just a few of us that are pretty tight and walking through this journey together. And some of the things that we're learning and some of the things that some of us have learned and the others haven't yet, and how much money all of these, they're not mistakes because it's education. But if somebody else doesn't have to pay for that education, that's the joy of joining in podcasts like this, finding out from somebody else who's already been there, or having a tight group of friends that can help walk you through it and say, don't do that.
100%.
I know that you've been a businesswoman for years. So you're in the business of trade shows. You're taking all of your knowledge that you've learned from all of those years of being in trade shows, and you're teaching other people how to be successful in that. As a consultant, you have your own business, the booth boss, the booth babe. You are a babe, but you have your own business, the booth boss. And so tell me a little bit about your journey of how you even got into a field like that, and a little bit about what you're doing in that.
Sure, absolutely. It's so funny, and I won't bore your audience about trade shows, I swear, but that is where my financial means comes from. So I will give you a quick rundown on that. So I've been doing trade shows for about 30 years now. I started as a marketing consultant, pretty much the same path a lot of people do, marketing consultant to a marketing manager to a marketing director. And I never thought I'd flip to this side of the aisle or the booth or the table and be the one that designs, manufactures, and manages booths for other companies. So I was in the marketing world. I was the one that was going to the shows. I was the one getting people on the booth and all that good stuff. And I like this side better because I love design and I love seeing, helping other people. Both sides have their pros and cons, but I really enjoy this side. So I did get into marketing, starting with that trajectory, and then switching sides onto this side of the floor. And what is beneficial for working with someone like me is that I totally understand my clients. I know what it's like to go over on a trade show budget and have to go to the CEO and say, hey, I went over such and such thousands of dollars. And he's going, great, no problem. You're going to have to find that money somewhere else. And me trying to figure out what project can I pull money out of? And nobody wants the feeling of having to look like you're not top notch and that you're not doing your best and that you failed in any sort of way. So I feel like my job in one of my roles that I play is my job is to make my client look like a superstar to their boss. So that's my day job of, the designing and manufacturing of the trade show booths. But what I'm really loving right now, which I know some people are kind of like, please don't talk about this, is AI. And I hope it's okay we talk about this, but I told you that I always want to get into their shoes. And I remember when I was a marketing director, if I if I dared to go to the bathroom, that 3 minutes, I'd have 20 more emails. And my phone is now filled. So I don't think I answered my phone in 6 months because you're so under stress with, I don't, it could be your website or your socials or your, uh, we did a lot of back page ads, and just everything, pay per clicks and everything that's involved in being in marketing. And that's any kind of industry, right? You're not just a lawyer. You're a lawyer. You do all this other stuff. You've got all this paperwork. So I don't think any of us women have one job that you can turn off after 6 or 7 hours. So I love AI because I'm looking for how do I work smarter, not harder? I am a person who I am a hustler. Um, I moved out when I was 18 because I thought I knew everything and I didn't think my parents knew anything. So I moved out when I was 18 and bought my first house when I was 21. And that's not because I was born with a silver spoon in my mouth, but because I worked 3 to 6 jobs the entire time at one time. I worked hard, but I knew nothing about finances. I knew nothing about building wealth. I just knew to make the money to pay the bill on time. That was my whole world. So, putting myself back into the working smarter, not harder part, I am also older, so I'm not interested in working, 80-hour weeks anymore. And I do want to spend time with our kids, and I do want to spend time with our aging parents. And, it's important to me and us. So this AI stuff is freaking cool. And I totally get when people are scared.
I was talking earlier about how your heart is to serve people and help people and give your knowledge, but the AI part is all of that rolled into one because we were at a mastermind together and you had discovered at the time Notebook LM and you're, come here, you got to check this out. You ended up having an audience around you, but we took something that I was working on and we threw it in there and legit, it was, my mind was like, oh my gosh. So even though I had dabbled in AI and I thought I was a little bit farther along than some people, and I was, but I was still really using it like a glorified Google. And that's when things changed for me. That's when I started going, there is so much more to this. So do you remember that day?
1,000%. And, we were going through the ads and pulling it in. Notebook LM is pretty powerful. What I love is that you have these tools at your fingertips that are actually free.
Mhm.
That's the best part, right? Um,
So
and
what's your favorite on your for all the AIs that you're working with? Like what are what each one for? We can talk a little bit about them and then
mhm,
we can end up telling people where they can go learn more about them. But
mhm.
if you're just starting at the top of mind, kind of what are you using right now?
So, I try to do things smarter, not harder. And my very favorite, I do like Notebook LM because it turns things into video quickly. But right now it's Claude and Manus. So this week I created a whole team of agents. I think I've got 10 agents. One is a copywriter, one uh, reads my bio and makes it better. Another one does legal. So I've got 10 agents that I had Claude help me build a whole platform. I threw it into Lovable and now it's a working website. And this took me just a couple hours. P.S. I'm in the middle of testing it all right now. So I'm loving Claude. I was a ChatGPT girl and I think you were too.
Hmm. Yeah,
Uh,
I just changed everything over. I used that prompt I sent to our
yep.
group a little bit ago because that was part of the problem is leaving it when it knows you.
Mm-hmm. That's a scary situation, isn't it? Because you don't want to regurgitate 2 years of information. So I also, ironically, you and I did pretty much the same thing at the same time. I moved everything from chat to Claude. Claude is the credits based or token based. So I do a lot on chat with give me the perfect prompt for such and such. Then I put it in a Claude and I build my skills and my agent, and then it helps me build it better. And then I throw it in a Manus or Lovable and I get a website right away. So I'm
Oh,
loving agents right now.
do you use Claude for free? I'm paid Claude.
I'm paid I'm a paid chat, Claude, and Manus.
Yeah.
So those are the three I pay for.
Now, I want to talk about how you're using Manus and how you're using your agents because a lot of people don't understand what agents are. I know we were on a call yesterday with one of our groups that we're in. We're doing AI mastery, and I know you're doing a lot more AI stuff, but people don't know what agents are at all. So explain to us in layman's term what agents are simply.
Happy to. So, your audience might have heard what a custom chat is, right? Custom chat GPT. And a custom chat GPT is something where it has already created a parameter. Like I created a custom chat GPT to, like in my world, I have to come up with timelines for all my clients. So we talked about National Restaurant. This client's going to National Restaurant. This one's going to MRO. This one's going to IMTS. Each one has a different timeline. When is artwork due? When do I ship it? And getting the calendar from the show, meeting it with our exact timing, our truck, our staging, all that details, it probably takes a half an hour to an hour every single one. So I created custom chat GPT that I just upload the show calendar and it knows the dates and how many dates I need, and then it spits out. So that's a custom chat GPT. But
because
an eight,
you've trained it to
mhm,
like it's a kind of like an SOP built into the system. A custom chat
yes.
is when I give you this information over here,
Mhm.
maybe in projects or whatever, this is what you do every time with this information. Because that's one of the things that when you're first learning about AI, they tell you be specific, be specific, be specific. Well, once you start training your chat and it knows, or your AI, and it knows who you are, and it starts getting SOPs, you don't have to be so specific because you've already been specific with the instructions. So
Thousand
that's
percent.
that's key that people know that that's how it cuts your time. I mean,
Mhm.
it gives you back your time.
Yeah. So that's a custom chat GPT.
Cool.
So let's move on to what an agent is. So a custom chat GPT is something that it has already your parameters. You upload something to it. There's a physical human touch point to it. I'm going to put in my calendar from the show and it's going to spit out something else. So you already have this. I'm adding this. You give me this. That's a custom chat. Now moving on to what an agent is. So when you're in, and also Claude does some of this as well, but talking about Claude and chat, it's called a task, and that's kind of an agent. So an agent is something that's going to do something for you without you being involved. So with the custom chat, you need to upload the schedule so that it can give you, from A and B equals C. So with the agent, I've got a task that comes to me every morning at 6 a.m. that pulls anything related to AI in the trade show world and it could spit out the information. That's one step. But I also said, with that information, I want you to then create a LinkedIn blog post for me. Then I want you to write me the perfect prompt for the perfect image for this LinkedIn thing. You could say anything you want to. So
That's
that's an
me too.
agent.
Is Oh my gosh, this is so good. Because you know what? And I think this conversation is your how you've taught people so many years, like your training and teaching is making this so understandable. Because this is a lot of knowledge I have in my head, but I don't really know how to explain it. I've sat on I don't know how many different AI trainings, and they don't break it down to these pieces right here. So this is gold. So thank you so much. And so
Of
the
course.
agent goes to work while you're sleeping or
Mm-hmm.
whatever, and it's doing the initiation of those SOPs.
100%. It's getting the tools. So you're not saying, go to CNBC and pull this and that. That's more of a chat GPT thing. Or that's more of a chat. That's a two-way thing. I'm thinking this, get me that, come back, and I'll tell you what to do after that. A agent does the thinking. So I told you I came up with an AI team. So I've got my copywriter, I've got 10 different agents. So with my 10 different agents, I can come in and say, I'd like to have call a team meeting. So bring in my 10 agents. And I would like to create a 10-day funnel that's going to go through my Go High level and pull the people that need to the table. It will have my lead people say, okay, Franny's here. Okay, Chad is here. So and so's here. But the people who don't need to be there, they'll be like, okay, I'm here if you need me. So there is a human interaction of me saying, hey, I need to have a team meeting. But then I could say, Chad, I need you to talk to Franny and I want you to find out such and such. And then I can move on to my next thing because now my AI team, they're talking together. And it doesn't have to be, you can even have your board of directors. You can make your board of directors with Alex Hermosi at the table. You could have Gary Vee at the table. You can have Russell Branson at the table. And you can have those people that are your team members or your board of directors, and you can say, "I'm here. You know, knowing what you know about me, what do I need to work on next?" Russell will pipe in, and Gary Vee will pipe in, and Alex will pipe in, and they will help you go to the next level.
Two big pieces of information I want to put there. It's so funny how we anthropomorphize our team. And you're saying you've got all these, you bring in your people. And I just want to
Mhm.
be clear, these aren't people that you're paying for. These are
No.
AI agents that you might be paying for through tokens and all that. And we'll come back because we heard that crazy story yesterday. And then it's not Russell Brunson and it's not Alex Hormozy coming to the table or Gary Vee. It's what they can see in a millisecond about everything that they know about those people and what they teach. Because if it's on the internet, if it's existed as their training, those agents can act as those people based on all of the content that they've put out there. Like I wouldn't be able to say, go act as like Lynn Plata. There might be a little bit of stuff, but it's not going to be able to help you really do a lot. So tell us about how you
Yes.
get a prompt.
Well, first, I start with chat because it's free, and I don't want to use all my tokens. And between Manus, I need the most tokens for, so I try to use that only when I need it. So I start with chat. I say I am going to create either a skill or an agent, or let's say Gary Vee. I start out with chat. And I always speak into it because it's the fastest, but I can type fast, but speak into it. Hey, chat, I would like to create an agent with Gary Vee on my team, and I want him to do such and such and such, right? And you have to give it parameters. I don't want him to do such and such. And what would really be important to me is A, B, and C. So you really have to think, how do I want this agent, this person, my team member, to do specifically the thing that what I'm going to need from that person. Just like if you're going to do a hire, if you're going to hire a person, you want them to be autonomous. You want them to be organized. You want them to be, what in your mind what you want that person. So you say all that, and then you're saying, I want you to write the prompt for me to go over to Claude. He gives you, so Chad gives you, Chad, Chat gives you the prompt, go over to Claude, you put it in there, he gives you the info, and then you create your agent right there. So you're asking one because it's more free. Then I go over to Claude, and then from Claude, I go into like the bigger one. Like Manus, I use very seldomly. It's fantastic at creating slides, but you hear that about Gamma and GenSpark and Gemini, and a lot of other people do slides well. Manus is amazing. Like you said, it's how we can use them to move our business forward. And, we're juggling a lot between the finances and growing wealth. And I'm pretty much a solopreneur, as such as yourself and probably half your audience here. And we want to have other agents or other people work for us because, when you're a solopreneur, we don't want to be spending 40, 50, $60,000 a year on somebody, which is why we haven't hired somebody, right? So I think using these AI tools is important for us to, again, work smarter, not harder.
Absolutely. And actually, the mastermind we were at is what is about creating wealth. And one thing
Mhm.
that drew me to that is that I have always loved money. And in the world kind of out there, I feel like it's by design where they don't want us to talk about money or we feel ashamed to talk about money. And then it was a weird dichotomy because then I've been in real estate for years. So starting in retail real estate, that's the first question I have to ask people. How much money do you have? What's your credit score? I mean, these personal questions. But when I would go out in the regular world and want to talk about building money and having money and how much do you have and what can we do together, people would shy away from that. So to walk into a room of 300 people where all we want to talk about is money and how we can make money together and how we can move money together, which is another way to invest with each other, and how we can learn from each other. And it's so exciting. So you're in your 50s as myself, and we're just now stepping into this world of creating wealth and
Mhm.
creating it the way most people would never know. And one of the things that one of our, I don't know, mentors, I don't know, that Andrew Cordell says is it is a totally different game between most people and the wealthy. And what most people, especially business owners and solopreneurs, are trying to do is we are trying to race to zero. By December 31st, at the end of the year, we want to have spent every dang dime that we have so that we don't have to pay taxes. And the rich don't do that. They do two things. They don't pay taxes and they keep all their money and they follow the rules of law, because most people that are trying to race to zero are also lying on their taxes. So, how do we reconcile not being a liar, creating huge amounts of wealth, and, you know, not lying on taxes, creating huge amounts of wealth and having it just completely snowball and snowball and snowball. So that's where we met. So if I asked you what you've learned, I know it's way too much, but the just first thing that comes to mind in the last, couple of years, actually, you just started. This is what's crazy. It has been, I think it's like almost your anniversary right now for when
Yep,
you
this
first.
month.
So tell us what you did, even in the first 6 months, some of the big moves that you made financially when you were introduced to new ways of playing with money.
Wow. Well, let me quickly start that I didn't know anything about anything. Like I have a friend who he invests in movie studios and solar panels and whiskey and all these things. In my brain, up until like 3 years ago, I thought he was putting butts in seats, getting the accounting system, getting the building. I literally thought he was building each business. And I'm like, how is he like not freaking out? How is he sleeping at night? And he's got all these businesses. It didn't dawn on me that he's just an investor because all I knew, I grew up blue collar. My mom was a secretary, or I don't know if they use that word anymore. I don't know, she was a secretary. And my dad is a mechanic. He can fix anything with a motor, right? So I didn't grow up like you. Speaking about money, like asking anybody how much they made was totally taboo. So for me growing up, it was really awkward talking about money. And like I said, I worked hard and I paid my bills, but it was just up to there. There wasn't a whole lot of investing. But from the time I was probably 20, I worked for a corporation of some sort, like United Airlines or a bank. So I knew a 401k. I knew I had to put money away. I didn't know what it meant. I didn't know what traditional or Roth meant. I just put something away because that's what adults do. And I didn't know, like, well, which fund do I pick from? I don't know. Let's just pick the one in the middle, right? That's my whole experience. And so I started last year. Since then, I'm in three multifamily real estate deals. I have just started investing in art, which I thought was for old people with terrible taste, in art, which I never knew you can actually invest in art that's pretty. And I did an NFT. I do tax-free crypto. Um, I have been involved in an AI business opportunity. I've invested in a dumpster deal. I do small money movement. This is all since April. And what's great is like again, when you find your tribe of people who can talk to you the way you need to be talked to, like if the people in our group were monotone and boring and didn't swear, I probably wouldn't be a follower. But because they're so normal and down to earth and they can teach you like a fourth grader, it's up my alley. And so I've come a long way in time, pretty much from 52 to 55. That's been a big leap. All before that was my on-the-job training of getting me to where I need to get to.
So you've invested on all of this stuff and
Mhm.
you're learning the tax loopholes is what the world would call them, but they're
Yeah,
actual tax laws that are written
right,
by the wealthy for the wealthy and passed through Congress. And I'm with you. Yes, we are supposed to be good stewards of our money, right? Pay to Caesar what is Caesar's, but the rest of it we are responsible to be good stewards of. And that doesn't mean giving additional to Caesar. That's just not paying attention. It's just lazy. But it's
right,
hard not to be lazy because the tax laws, they look convoluted, they're scary. We don't even know where to step in. Most of our CPAs are horrible, and that's another thing AI is taking over. Like I said, I did my taxes with Grok and I've got several businesses and I hadn't filed in a couple of years. I paid, but I didn't know what to do because we had sold some property, we had just different business investments. So there was money coming in. So I paid what I thought would, probably be it. But then I wanted to figure out what are those tax loopholes, right? Because this
right.
is going back to 2024 was the first year so I just filed 24 and 25. No, 23. Sorry. Yeah. So I was going back to 24. And I didn't know anything in 24 except for, oh my gosh, what do you do when you get a bunch of money and you don't want to give it up? You don't want, if you're getting a big refund at the end of the year, you gave the government a free loan. That money could have
Yep.
been making you money, but when we don't know what to do with it, what do
Hmm.
we do if we're hit with a big tax bill in April? And that can be scary. So people are just working hard and playing hard, and they don't know.
Exactly. I wanted to be a responsible owner, and I made it my mission to come up with two loopholes, right? And we learned in our group, loopholes is a word that contributors make up. A loophole is a real tax. That's what the wealthy use. They know about this tax incentive or this tax break. Somebody who just finds out about it is a loophole. So when I started Booth Boss a couple years back, I thought, I want to learn two loopholes a year that I could take advantage of. So I want to pay my fair share, but I don't want to pay more fair share of my taxes. And I don't know what I don't know. I thought, well, let me start my education on what to do. And this is the group that we found ourselves in. I didn't even know how to structure the company. And that's one of the things that I've also learned. How do you structure correctly? So suppose you want to sell it in 10 or 20 years. Did you structure it correctly in the very beginning when you're on ground floor so that when it gets to whatever, did you do the right thing? And I didn't want to get to the end of the did you do the right thing and want to vomit, right? And be like, I should have, would have, could have. So just learning at the right time is important. And I think one thing as women, we need to give ourselves grace. You know, um, we are where we are, and we did a damn good job getting us to where we are, whether it was by our fingernails, but we got there, right? And we are here, we're happy, we're healthy, and we're doing the best we can. Did I maybe make an investment at 12% when then I found out that I could have gotten 20%? And you're like, oh, should I kick myself for it? 12% is great, right? Last year before April, I wouldn't even know some of these words. And what I love right now is we can go to any mastermind and we can listen to them and we know what they're saying.
Mhm.
Before, it was all Charlie Brown's teacher. And not only was it Charlie Brown's teacher, I was like, you've got 3 minutes before I either fall asleep or I'm out the door. Now,
Or I used to feel inadequate. So it wasn't
yes.
just falling asleep. I would start being self-deprecating, right? I would start being
Yes.
like, I'm not where I'm supposed to be. I don't
Hmm.
belong in this room. These people are so much smarter than me. They're so much richer than me. And you'll find out people aren't necessarily richer than anybody.
Hmm.
But we don't know what anybody's doing, right? And
Hmm.
we don't know how to save what we do have. You've got to be able to save what you do have, even if you would put yourself and say, like no lies and no whatever, being
Yep.
mean to yourself. No lies about it. This person has more money than me, or this
Hmm.
person has less money coming in than me. But we can level the playing field if we know what to do with it to keep it.
Hmm.
We need to be able to make it, yeah, whatever much that is, and be able to keep it, multiply it, and keep it, right? I think
Absolutely.
that,
Yeah.
so that's huge. So yeah, I feel the same way because it was the first, times I'm listening to it, it was a lot. I would take notes and I was wanting to learn so much and really hungry, but and excited because you could pick out a few words that you would know, but it didn't come together. But it is time, it's education, and we weren't taught it. And then hopefully, the people that come from us will learn more. And maybe that's our kids, or maybe that's our, next door neighbor or somebody that we mentor in our business or something like that, that we are able to pass this on. Or maybe you build a business out of it, right? Teaching other
Yep.
people how to keep their wealth. And that was a huge thing when you said how to build a business right, because we learned that at this last mastermind. Like if you don't set everything right, when you go to sell it, you basically lose it all to taxes.
Yep. I mean, we've learned so many things. I am sure most of your audience, they don't know what a ROBS is. They don't
No.
know, what that means or how that t is a tax advantage. And one thing, like, I want to ask you, knowing what I know now, like I worked at corporations for 30 years, different corporations. And I thought I work for a corporation. This is great. I get 401k. Then I got on my own and I would never work for somebody else ever in my life again because just the one thing of being able to have a solo account is amazing. When you work for somebody else, you can put $7,000 or whatever your age and whatever, $7,000 into a Roth. Then you own an account, you own your own business, and what is it? I mean, by the time you can put in your traditional and as an employee, as an employer, I think you can end up at the end of the year and have over $70,000 in your Roth. I mean, there's some conversions in there. But I mean, it's night and day. And some people thinking and hearing this, like whenever I tell my other friends, never would I ever work for somebody else again. I specifically need to have a solo. And they're like, well, how do you come up with 70 extra $1,000 a year? Right? Because like what we learn, you make it and you spend it so that you don't owe anybody.
Mhm.
That's why it's important to know your tax breaks is you don't owe that. You get this. And that's how some of the money comes that you get to put into your Roth or your traditional. And I want to mention, we learned about self-directed, right? Self-directed accounts. My little brain back in the day, self-directed to me meant Schwab, TD Ameritrade, or Fidelity. Yeah, it is kind of a form of self-directed, but not really. I mean, you can't invest in real estate. You can't invest into 50 other industries or things, right? I never knew that was even in that world. And what's funny that when we started learning, and even like a couple friends that are in our group, it kind of pisses you off that that wasn't taught in high school or even college or even through your family or nobody taught you this stuff. So it really is a little bit uh frustrating that it took this long, right? I mean, what were you quote unquote I was pissed that
Yeah.
no one
Oh,
told me.
yeah, I was pissed too. And I didn't, I can't blame my folks. They didn't know either.
Mm-mm.
They did everything traditionally and whatever. And I remember I've never had a job. So that's one thing. I mean, I had a job like in high school and but I've never had a job. So, but when I was in real estate, somebody came into our office and they said, oh, you should open up. I don't even know what it was. I opened up something, some kind of investment, something, a SEP account, I guess. No, I don't know what it was, something. And then I remember like going about, I don't know, 3 years, and my fees were eating up so much of what I was even making anyway that I thought, and then 60 years old or 59 and a half, whatever seems so long, right? 59 and a half for me is about in 4 months. But at that time, 59 and a half seems so long that I'm just like, I pulled it out. I'm like,
Mhm.
this is ridiculous. They're taking my money. It's not even up. The market was kind of shifting at the moment. And I didn't know anything. And there was no one to really teach me. The only people that came in to teach me were people trying to sell me their prospectus, their crap, right? Or so they could make money. Who did make money on my money, even when I was losing money, was them,
Yep.
and that was disheartening. That's when I was pissed. So not that somebody didn't teach me, because I really wasn't even smart enough, I guess, to realize nobody taught me. I just felt ripped off. I felt sucker punched, right? I
As you
felt like,
should.
well, this is BS, right? And then
Yeah.
um yeah, it took a long time. And so we just Emily is my youngest. She's 19. And for this tax season, we just opened up her Roth and she funded it with her money at the maximum that she can do. And she's like, Mom, I'll figure out how I need to do all of this stuff later. But right now it's just it's a simple Roth, but it was one step that she wanted to do. And that is where the generational changes change.
A
So
hundred percent.
she's not coming to me right now like, hey, can we call Equity Trust and put it as
Mhm.
self-directed? Can we do like whatever? She's an employee right now, but she
Mhm.
opened up a Roth with Fidelity. But I'm so proud
Good.
of her because then she went
Yeah.
into AI and learned how to do it. So when we sat down to do it, she really knew what she was doing. I just had to kind of sit there and be around, like moral support, kind of the way we're together, our
Yeah.
group of friends, our cohorts, as we're building something. I was with her, guiding as I needed, but she had it. Like, so when I think about what's coming for these younger generations, they can learn from AI. They
Mhm.
can be entrepreneurs and they can save their money and they can open up these accounts and then they can come in and move money with their friends and build businesses together by investing each other's business and making that 12 or 20% returns or whatever on different things. And by the time, even looking at this one, I have this one calculator from Larry Yatch with his money stuff that he does. And I'm just saying, even if you put this in here at this 10% return and these kind of funds, this is how much money you could have by 35.
It's crazy
Fine.
seeing the number.
And that's what motivates you. It's kind of like when you're starting a workout program and then all of a sudden one day you've got biceps or somebody says you've got biceps or you look on the scale and the scale's gone down. You've kind of got, oh, momentum. Now I can
Yes.
freaking do this, right? When you can look at that thing and say, okay, I can take this 7,000. That was another thing I was always taught. We were
Mhm.
taught to put our money in different accounts that was, oh, you can't put it in pre-tax, or you got to put it in pre-tax, right? No, don't pay
Yep.
taxes on that money first. You
Yep.
got to do all of this. And it's like, now we see how silly that is. You got to get it in there where you've already paid taxes on it, let it grow tax free and take
Yep.
out millions and millions and millions of dollars. That's the game.
I love it. Yeah. And even now we know that even if you did put into your traditional and you want it into your Roth, you can do a discount conversion. We took heavy advantage of that last year and we're also doing it this year. So you're paying the taxes, but discounted. And so that it grows tax free, which is why HSAs that in during and out is all tax free. I mean, by the time it's in your Roth, and as long as, oh man, we've got so many fantastic tools at our fingertips and just learning all of these ins and outs and the right way to do it. Yeah, did we make some mistakes along the way? 1,000%. But
Yes.
do we know we're not going to make those same mistakes again? 1,000%. You know,
No.
it's funny talking about making mistakes. So I told you that I was in my 50s and I was starting Booth Boss and I wanted to do things right. The first thing I thought of is, oh, there's a night class that teaches you about investing correctly. And I was like, okay, that's after, I'm sure it's going to be a room full of people my age. So I took the class at the local college. So I took that, and of course, they gave you some great information, but it was like 4 nights for an hour. You're not going to learn much from that. And I thought, well, they know what they're doing. Let me move my stuff from at this point, I was with Edward Jones for many years, and I moved it over to Fidelity because I read a book. So, and then it was at Fidelity or wherever it was at that time. Then I moved it over to that company, and then I thought, okay, they're going to know what they're doing. Then I had a friend who she teaches people how to invest themselves in the stock market and stuff. And I thought, well, let me pay her, whatever fee, she's a couple $1,000s, have her teach me so I'm not so ignorant. So I got her, became in my little world, my little bubble. And I remember our call because I had given her the information for that portfolio that they were managing. So we get into our Zoom call and she opens up and she says, now, Heather, you didn't do anything wrong. That was, so
Oh,
I start laughing. So when someone says you didn't do anything wrong, the next line is going to be a whammy. So I laughed and I said, I didn't know what I didn't know. And she goes, I can tell you when he had to pay his mortgage and she goes, I had like 60 different positions in each of my accounts. She goes, you don't need 60. I mean, it was crazy. She said, the amount of fees that they're taking that are hidden, I said, don't even tell me. I don't want to know. So she helped me move it all back over to, I don't know if I was in Fidelity or Schwab, where I was at the time. We moved over to Fidelity and she helped me with that. And, since then, now everything is now an equity trust. But I was like, I mean, who do you trust? I tried to go to an after, people my age to learn somewhere. They were going to take care of it. And that was, I read a book. So I'm so happy that we're where we're at. Yeah, did I make a lot of mistakes along the way? One big whammy that I had is I invested with a friend's startup for $100,000 about 20 years ago. And you have plenty of people who have lost $100,000 in your world. So it's just like nothing to you.
It is something.
I
When I have
know.
friends that lose 10 grand, it's something. But go ahead, tell your story because 100 grand is a
Yeah.
lot of money, especially 20 years ago. It's like
Yeah.
300,000 now.
Exactly. So it was $100,000 for a startup that I really believed in her. She was like employee number 7 at Apple. She was friends with Steve Jobs, and I was like, she knows her crap. So I'm going to invest, and the reason why I wanted to do that is my stepdad back in the day had an opportunity. And when you think of other people having opportunities and missing it, he had a friend who said, hey, I'm going to start a submarine shop. Do you want to invest with me? He goes, no, thanks. Fast forward, it's Subway. So Subway is who he missed investing into. So I thought, okay, this girl's coming to me with this. Anyways, I did the wrong investment, but and I could kick myself thinking, how much is it worth now? It's like $325,000. But again, I'm hoping other people learn from me. Did I not read the fine print? No, I didn't know. I didn't know anything. Did I take it to a lawyer? Nope. I just trusted. I didn't even have a parachute on when I jumped out of the airplane. But the good thing is that I'm healthy. I can make the money. I can grind another 12-hour days or whatever and do what I can and not cry over the spilt milk. That's the best you can do.
Tell other people not to make those same mistakes. And that's one of the
Hmm.
things that when people come into our world, we can talk to them. We might not have all of the answers, but we can point them in the right direction. We can tell them what we've done. I know
Yeah.
that in the real estate world, help people a little bit more, like how do you more safely invest in real estate? There's a lot of people that have lost a lot of money, and it comes down to just not knowing. There's two things I think that it kind of comes down to. One is not knowing any better, and one of them is kind of a two-part thing of comfort and greed. Once somebody starts making a lot of money, they get a little more lax, maybe don't vet out even that same person for the next deal or make sure that what they've already got invested in that is protected and there's no dishonor or whatever when I say that, but it really is what it is. Like that was easy money. I just want to grab some more. So we kind of sit back and relax. This is our money. Nobody's protecting it. Nobody was protecting it when we were on the other side, when we were playing by their rules and they were just taking it and we thought it was protected. FDIC. It's FDIC. It's protected. Yeah. But they took it anyway. You just don't know where they're taking it in different places. Or you can come out here in the wild, wild west and you are totally in control of your money. It is self-directed. Here's another thing that I loved that I learned with when you're coming into the self-directed world is that there are laws, actual laws that say when I call my custodian to say I want to invest my money into whatever I want to invest it in, that person on the other line is not allowed by law to give me their opinion or tell me something else. And I always thought, well, don't you need somebody to tell you? And that was a law written for and by the wealthy because they did not want to hear somebody's great uncle, great Uncle Bob invested all this money in whatever. And you should do it too. Like nobody has time for that. When you understand your money and you understand the game of money and you understand the risks and you've made your decision, you don't need somebody else that doesn't know your priorities, your goals, your focus, and your risk tolerance telling you
Mhm.
anything. But there's a lot of self ownership in that position.
1,000%. I was in the same boat as you. Like, well, I don't know what I don't know. So do I want them to say that's not a good move? But but the people that we're investing with, and they're the ones who are giving us the 411. And You are such a reference in my world. Like, if I even hear the word real estate, I'm like, oh, you got to know Lynn. You know Lynn? Let me introduce you to Lynn because I don't know what the next thing that's going to come out of your mouth because the only thing I know about real estate is that people do fix and flips, and that's literally it, which is like one of 12 different ways to make money, right, in real estate. And I don't know it.
1,200 different ways. And you
Yeah.
are making money in real estate and it's not a fix
Yes.
and flip. So that was
Right.
a way that you wouldn't have even thought of 3 years ago.
Mm-mm. There's a lot of things I think we as women take on, which is more than some other genders. Like a lot of men, they probably just let it slide anyways because they don't care as much as women do. I wanted to kind of also tell your audience that no matter where they're at in their financial world or their business world or their financial world or wealth growth, I think what we need to do is look inside and think, is the destination worth the journey? Right? Like with us learning with our education for our financial education, for us, we knew that the destination was going to be worth the journey. Like, I think the hardest part of where we're at is the paperwork. And if anyone said you're going to spend hours on paperwork or just having to Google or ChatGPT and be like, here's a picture of this form that I'm trying to fill out. Can you explain what it is? Or, I mean, we do have people who we rely on as well, but I love the fact that I jump in a lot of times with the things that we do a little bit blind, not ignorantly, but more blindly. Like, yes, I do want that. That is my goal. What do I need to get there? Don't tell me all the pieces of paper I'm going to need to do. Just tell me 4 steps. And is it going to take me 6 months? Tell me longer than it is shorter because I just want to. Is it going to take me a year? Great. I've got the expectation of a year. If it takes me 9 months, I feel great about it. And I think any woman out there, no matter where we want to go or our goal is, and us with finance and wealth, I think us personally, and I don't mean to put words in your mouth, but I think us knowing what our goal is, the journey is worth that. And finding our tribe and finding our people to get there makes it so much easier and so much more fun.
I could not find a
Yeah.
better way to end this podcast. That was amazing. It was so good and it's so true. So if somebody needed to reach out to you and get advice on, you have so many different things that you do, how would somebody reach you?
The best way is probably LinkedIn. Either connect with me on LinkedIn or DM me on LinkedIn. That's the platform I'm on a lot. I mean, I'm pretty much ignorant on Instagram. It's on my list, but Booth Boss Bootcamp or just Booth Boss is also it is an Instagram and a school community and YouTube but I'm mostly on LinkedIn. So you can find me there. My name is probably spelled correctly in your podcast. So Heather Bundgaard is where I'm at on LinkedIn. That's the easiest way. And I'm happy for whoever is in your audience, whoever's sitting there thinking, I could really use a resource for this, or I could really use help with this, or I could really use a suggestion for this. Just reach out because that's what you and I do together. We're not what they now call gatekeepers. We're not going to say, oh, well, this is my lawyer. This is my person to teach. We give out, like, I'm like, you need Lynn. I'm going to give you Lynn. I'm going to give you my so and so because we want everybody to be successful. I mean, it's like at work when we're selling trade show booths, I'm like, let me help you become successful because I want all of us to be successful. So going back to your question, LinkedIn is the best, but you can also find, I do have a website, boothbossbootcamp.com. But for me to help you personally, just reach out to me on LinkedIn.
And YouTube.
Yeah, and if people are looking for some free resources, you can always check out my Booth Boss Bootcamp on YouTube and also boothbossbootcamp.com. There's some free resources there as well. So I'm here to offer some free help in the trade show world.
Awesome. Thank you so much, Heather. This was an amazing episode. I love that you're where you are in life and taking ownership for everything that you want to do, taking all of the lessons that you've learned, leaning into learning more. Because no matter where we are in life, that's important, right? And I also believe that when you learn the right things, you can exponentially change things beyond your wildest dreams. So even if you feel like you're behind, if you stay doing nothing, then that's where you get to stay. But if you learn some of these strategies that we've talked about today, your life can look completely different. And if you're at that age where, like myself, where a lot of your friends are retiring and they seem to be together, have it together financially, and maybe you're feeling a little bit behind, there are ways to, no shade on your friends that seem to have it together, but just completely go way, way, way past where they are. And you might not believe it yet, but it's possible. And I know that. And I know that Heather knows that. So
100%. I think your community and your audience is so lucky to have you. And if they don't know it, they need to know it because you are such a wealth of knowledge and such a giving woman that I think anyone who follows you is very blessed. So I applaud you for doing what you do. You're really helping everybody just move the needle higher and higher to being better people and better lives. So kudos to you.
thank you. And thank you for being part of it. Until next time, a wise woman will prosper. So go ahead, buy the field, plant the vineyard, and watch it multiply.